Sandy, a week ago we had a Zoom conversation with a whole group of very diverse group of people.
Sure.
And out of which we see that in India, in places like Philippines, where the government infrastructure is not as progressive,
Conducive.
Yeah. And you see community self-empowered leaders stepping up.
Yeah.
Being a community leader yourself, what are your thoughts on what community leaders or individuals should be doing right now?
So as the president of the United Nations Association here in WA, in Western Australia, we recently just had our executive committee meeting. And I think I opened the meeting by saying that first and foremost, we must keep all our volunteers healthy and safe. That is the most important thing. There is this urge in us, like you and I, we're just type A people or whatever you call it, like, really driven people. We want to go out there, do something. And you see a lot of that happening in the community. But number one, always protects people's health interests and keep them safe. Number two, then you have a look at, say, what's going on out there. Who are the people who are going to be impacted most? Okay, so we have 10,000 homeless people here in WA, even way before this crisis 3 years ago. This is going to just rise up even more. Already you have the International Labour Organization predicting about 190 million people are going to lose their job. And that is on top of the 190 million people who are already unemployed. So yeah, that's a bit scary. And so mental health is an issue. Right? Because people are under stress, they might lose their job. So you're going to see a rise in domestic violence. You're already seeing that. So that's one thing that is a big concern. And again, the kind of people who are going to get affected by this are going to be children and women who are at home. So, and number two, we ask ourselves, do we want to create events online, digital, to raise funds, or do we want to partner up with other organizations to do that, to amplify their reach? So instead of reinventing the wheel, if there are any ways to bring attention to a particular cause, be it homelessness or mental health, or basically getting people food and making sure that people are not isolated, is there something that we can do to help people? The problem with a lot of sectors is that if there's just too many players, it gets diluted, right? And so we would do much better if we consolidate our effort to support a prominent and obviously a reliable organization that is already doing a great job, like the food bank, for example, or St. John or Red Cross. So think about that instead of trying to reinvent your wheel and then dilute the funds in the community.
Because so a lot of time they will have good structure, but they lack manpower.
Correct. Absolutely. And you can lend your manpower to them. So as a volunteer organization or even a social enterprise, go out there and have a look. And if you really, really couldn't find anything, then you run your own thing, and you help. But I'm just thinking, yeah, I mean, we're all going through this hard time. Our challenges are not that unique from one over the other. So why can't we just work together, collaborate, form partnership to help? I think that would be a better use of our resources. And after all, during crisis, resources are spread very thin. So that's just
what I'm hearing, Sandy, is don't rush into doing things. Take a step back, plan properly, be strategic about it.
Strategically, yeah.
It's brilliant.
Think strategically, yeah. No. So yeah, go ahead.
No, please.
Yeah, so I think it's important. I think people are firefighting. They are in a panic mode. They are, and when human beings psychologically, when we are in a panic mode or when there is no direction, it is very easy to fall and to feed into fear, and that's a problem because fear can paralyze people, and fear can also bring out the worst in us. So I think it's important to shift that thinking from fear to something that is going to be positive, something that's constructive, something that you can really explore new opportunities in. So, like I said, your stakeholders are still out there. If you're a non-profit, you would still have members. If you're a volunteer organization, you would still have your volunteers. If you're a private sector organization, you still have your customers. People are still around and they're still reading news. They're still engaging and still consuming. You just have to find a way in how to engage them, how to keep them loyal, how to get them to contribute and give you a feedback on their emerging needs. Forget about the past, right? Forget about what worked for you in the past. Think about what can work in the future. How can you be more innovative, right? So in Harvard, we were looking at strategies and crisis management, and it's very easy when people do not feel the urgency and they don't feel this sense of threat. It is very easy to lull into this corner of passivity or laziness.
Right.
Yeah. So people don't act. So when you have a bit of urgency and a bit of like personal sense of, lack of security, it could go both ways. People could either feel, people could either feel really, really stressful because there's no direction, or they could feel like, yes, there is a key direction, but I don't know what to do because no one has told me or given me the knowledge or direction to do something. But if you're in the most optimal quarter, which means you understand that people are going to make mistakes, you want to try new things, there will be some failures, but if you are able to come up with some really creative idea, then you'll be the breakthrough organization that will outlast this whole entire crisis.
Have you come across,
yeah, go ahead.
Have you come across any good case studies where businesses and community integrate, to tackle this current crisis?
Okay, I may have to get back to you on that. I have seen many case studies on how companies survive after such crisis, but I've also seen some grassroots level kind of work, but they're more relating to philanthropy. So with the first example that I give you, for example, Nissan after the tsunami and also the Fukushima meltdown, they actually came out 9-point-something% stronger in terms of sales than their competitors like Toyota and Honda. And how did they do that? Well, maybe because they communicate very early. They inform the CEO like in less than 2 or 4 hours. They started a crisis meeting. They basically channel all their resources to a particular product offering that they have actually decided to go with. So, they're affected by the whole entire supply chain, and therefore they can't just try and please every customers or please every segment of customers. So at the very early stage, they've decided to go for the high margin product, and the high margin product must have the GPS in there, and therefore that's what they did. They did everything they can to secure the GPS system for their high margin products, and with regards to the other lower end products, they decided to not go ahead with it. And just their response rate was just so fast and so effective that they were able to tier their suppliers, the members of the supply chain, and renegotiate the contracts with them accordingly, which I think was really smart. So how do you apply this with social enterprise? It's the same thing. I mean, even if you're a social enterprise, you still need to make a profit to stay afloat. So have a look at your whole entire value chain or your supply chain and look at how can you secure or renegotiate some of your contracts with these key stakeholders so that you can stay afloat and they can stay afloat as well. Yeah. So with social, sorry?
It has to be win-win.
Yeah, a win-win. Absolutely. With regards to the second thing that we were talking about, how businesses can support government or even the population with regards to this crisis. Well, you're starting to see a lot of fashion companies, for example, they already have cloth making capabilities with their overseas suppliers in China. So what they did was, apart from selling fashion, very quickly, 2 weeks after the lockdown, you see that a lot of some of these fashion companies actually were telling people you can buy the face mask because a lot of face masks was out of stock. And what was interesting was this brand that I saw in Australia, the brand was Rockman's. I don't know if you remember Rockman's. It's a really old company, and yes, it's like according to Asians, it's more like the auntie style, right? Their target audience, their market segment is probably like 50 and above. But it was so timely, and I think they were one of the earlier fashion companies that did that, because their market segments are older women, and obviously they're in high risk. And apart from selling clothes, they now said, yeah, by the way, we are also bringing in all these masks. So working with your overseas suppliers is so imperative, because when it hit Europe and America, that's where the situation in China and Korea just kind of died down. So they didn't need any more masks, but in Europe and America, they were running out of masks. So if you have this great relationship with your suppliers, and if you know how to move them around, think more creatively and also ahead, then you're able to mobilize. You're able to mobilize these supplies for your target audience. Whether you want to make a profit or not, it's up to you. And some people, what they do is when they make a profit, they would send all the proceedings to, say, the healthcare workers, or a fund to help those who passed away working in the medical community or in the medical sector. For example, we have another guy here, another philanthropist here in WA. His name is Andrew Forrest. He did an amazing thing by donating 150 mil to get the supplies, and he's got a very close relationship with the Chinese, and he's a mining magnate here in WA, and he runs a non-profit a foundation called Mindaru Foundation. So his daughter Grace Forrest is a goodwill ambassador of ours, and they're very passionate about helping the community, helping people, and they really put the money where the mouth is. And so they've stepped up, bring in all these masks, bring in all these equipment, so that the healthcare workers here and the medical staffs here are not at risk when they do the job that they need to do. And then less than a week later, he donated another $250 million. I mean, obviously he is a man of means, so he can do that. But, I really would like to see more of such spirit, more of such generosity in the community, and we can all do it. You don't have to be a millionaire to donate money. I've seen philanthropists in Taiwan, for example. This lady, she sells vegetables in the market. She sells vegetables in the market, not much, but she will put away 50% of her earnings aside every month. This is 5 years ago. I read about this, and then she won the philanthropist of the year in Taiwan, and mainly because it just adds up and it accumulates over the year, and she was doing that consistently for over 10 years. Wow. So you give whatever you think you can give. Don't put yourself at dire straits. But I think if you can't give money, give your time. There's many opportunities where companies can get in touch with nonprofit. They can get in touch with charities and say, what can I do to help? Do you want me to deliver something? I have a trucking company now sitting in the warehouse not being able to do something. How can I mobilize that? Or say, for example, I have all these employees who are really good at woodworking, right? And is there anything we can build? Can we build like temporary tents to help people get tested and so on? So there's just so many ways you can do it. You just have to reach out, ask around, and step up. Yeah.
That's brilliant, Sandy.